Hello friends, this is Savius, and welcome to KSP 101, Episode 4. Today I'm going to show you how to establish interplanetary transfers. If you've already learned this, go ahead and go to the next video, and if you're here from the previous one, enjoy. Here's some timestamps. Bundled with this episode is also going to be a little mini guide on how to land on Duna, just because there has to be some kind of content to go with it. Anyways, enjoy. This method that we're going to be covering first, I'm going to call the manual method. I call it manual because we're going to require a protractor. Now, the idea is to compare the relative angle of Kerbin with Duna. You can see that Duna is on a further orbital path than Kerbin from Kerbal, which means that it's going to be moving at a slower speed than Kerbin is. This is why we have transfer nodes, and this is why it can be so tricky going from Kerbin to Duna. Now, as I see it, waiting for Kerbin to catch up to Duna is going to take quite a while, so I'm actually going to use a different method that's going to save us a lot more time. This is the one time in the series where I'm actually going to utilize one of the mods that I have installed. Now, we know that Duna needs to be about 20 degrees from Kerbin. I'm sure you've probably heard that before. We need to be roughly 20 degrees from Duna. So, as you can tell, that's going to take quite a good while. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and utilize a neat little tool that MechJeb has with it, the maneuver planner. Now, the maneuver tool is actually quite great, and I do not cast shame for using the maneuver tool to plot interplanetary nodes. You can select the kind that you want, usually limited time or porkchop. We're going to use porkchop. We set Duna as our target, and this menu comes up. Now, I've seen lots of tutorials cover how to use this in the most basic way, but I'm actually going to explain it in a way that kind of gets you to understand what you're looking at when looking at the porkchop selection. The first thing you must understand is that you are looking at a graph. You're looking at the product of an X and Y plane with data on both ends. Right here in the middle is going to be your most efficient means of getting to the planet, but you don't have to pick that all the time. You see, this graph is a product of transit duration time and the time at which you initiate your burn. The result is this handy heat map that basically tells you in a graphical way how much delta V you will have to spend, with the red being the worst and the darkest blue being the best. Now, earlier on in your career, you're going to always want to pick the most efficient route, because you can see there we take less than 1,000 meters per second delta V to transfer to Duna, which is fantastic. You can get a really low-tech payload to Duna and get some really early science early on if you're not restrained by deadlines. Now, that may not always work out for you, so if you hover your mouse onto the graph and you slowly translate your mouse either up, down, or left and right, you will notice that the numbers start to change. The further to the left you are, the sooner you depart, and the higher up you are, the longer your transfer duration is going to be. So, with that in mind, the top right is going to be the longest trip that you're going to take, and the bottom left is going to be the shortest trip that you're going to take. Now you can see that's not very efficient at all. That's, what does that say, 133 kilometers per second of delta V required. That is insane. So, I don't think anybody's going to be able to practically take that kind of route, but instead what I like to do is, instead of taking the most efficient route, I like to kind of hedge my bets and say, instead of doing the lowest delta V, seeing that massive transfer time, I would much rather pick something that's going to happen a little bit sooner and just spend a little bit more fuel for it. Especially since the kind of payloads I've been sending to Duna recently, if you've watched Stellar Journeys, has been kind of a semi-impactor lander. So, with that being said, I'm going to pick something that's kind of expensive but get me there sooner, and we will continue with the rest of it. Once you've picked the spot that you want, you can just click where you want on the graph, right there, and then once you are satisfied with your selection, you can click Create Node. Now, thankfully, due to the wonder that is post-processing, you did not have to experience that horrible lag spike, but you can see the node has been made, just a simple, smooth transition, basically an elongated Hohmann transfer, if you really think about it, to Duna. We'll cover those in the next episode. But one thing to keep in mind when you do plot your transfers is that sometimes your velocity can take you right in to intercept one of the planet's moons if that planet has them. So just keep that in mind, and just remember that if you do, you might have to make some mid-course correction burns. But don't worry, you're going to have to do those anyways. Once that's done, pretty much just close the maneuver planner and then just open up your nav ball and get ready to perform your burn. And so here we are, about a year later, and we have arrived at Duna orbit. The only issue is that our periaps is extremely high. So as you can see there in the Smart Assist node, I have gone ahead and ordered my spacecraft to point radial negative. Now we know from our previous tutorials that we can't simply just burn retrograde because, well, that would take a lot of delta V to burn retrograde. So instead we're going to do a neat little trick where we're instead going to change the angle of our orbital path to intercept Duna's atmosphere. You can see that doing this is a lot more effective than just burning retrograde. Oh, sorry about that. I'm trying to focus on Duna here, might have to do some weird camera hijinks. There we can see we've made our maneuver about 48 kilometers. Now, if we go to the planet information panel, we can see that Duna's atmosphere is 50,000 meters, or 50 kilometers. So 48, we're just barely dipping into the atmosphere. Now, doing this is called aerobraking, where we're basically using the air in the atmosphere to slow us down. Because, you know, entering the atmosphere at high speeds creates lots of friction, yada yada physics. So, we know that. I can delve deeper into aerobraking later into another few episodes where it's applicable, but the main thing is that I'm going to go ahead and just terminate our orbit so that we impact Duna, because our lander is a one-way lander anyways, so it won't really matter whether or not we hit Duna. It's just a matter of whether or not we miss Duna. So now we've gone into the final descent of this. We know that the probe is going to impact Duna, and our final job is to stop that from happening. So make sure that you are retrograde in respect to the surface velocity, and your heat shield should protect you on the way down. Go ahead and turn your altimeter to surface mode, and we should be good to go. Just double checking that the parachute is set to maximum deployment height. And once we re-enter the atmosphere, we should be good to go. Now that heating is mostly done, the parachutes will deploy since we armed them before we entered the atmosphere. Then they'll go ahead and open up and slow us down. We'll go ahead and discard the aero shell and heat shield, deploying the landing gear as well. And, oh, it looks like I don't have any fine thruster control, so I need to deploy this antenna. It's going to clip the parachute a little bit, that might cause some problems. Once it's deployed, go ahead and just use the engine, because the parachute's not enough to slow down a probe on Duna. Once we get to right around the right altitude and the right trajectory and everything looks good, we're going to go ahead and separate the parachute. Right about now. There we go. And yeah, I knew it. The antenna clipped the parachute shell, and it's going to cause us some issues coming down. Hopefully we can make it. Real gently, but it looks like the probe's guidance is not compensating enough. We'll have to fix that for another iteration, but maybe we might be able to salvage this just slightly. I don't know. Oh, no, that's not looking good. No. Oh, crap. Oh. Okay, we're bouncing. No. Oh. Okay, maybe I can save this. Let's see if we can save it. Oh no, it's tumbling. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, maybe we can save it. Maybe. This is fine. We haven't landed yet. This is fine. Let's see. Maybe we can do something here. Let's see. No. No. Wow, it survived at that time. That's pretty good. That's really good. Oh no. That didn't break the solar. What's going on? It didn't break the solar panels! I don't know what's going on. What? The magnetometer bounced too? Oh, okay. And okay. No. Oh my gosh. That's great. Would you look at that? Alright, and that concludes today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you very much so much for watching. This has been a great series to make, and I'm looking forward to making the next one. Let me know your comments down below, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date. Until then, this has been Savius, signing off.